Thank you for all the work you do and will continue to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could have, I think Carter Morris is here from Randall Morris and Associates.
We want to go down there.
Invite the board to come down, please.
Yeah, bring them all up, yeah. So San Marcos CISD wants to extend our greatest appreciation to Century 21 Randall Morris and Associates for their commitment to the San Marcos community. A collective labor of love, they play an integral role in supporting local families during the Christmas season, as all agents and employees volunteer their time to help raise proceeds and donations beginning in October of each year. Best known as the Gold Santa, this endeavor, coordinated by the Century 21 Randall Morris and Associates group, provides gifts to the district's families who would otherwise not have gifts for Christmas. No one is left out, as each child in the family receives gifts to enjoy and help capture the wonder of the Christmas season. A total of 63 children received gifts this year. For these reasons, it is with heartfelt gratitude that we, San Marcos CISD, recognize their commitment to the lives of our children in San Marcos. Thank you all very much. Carter, did you want to say anything? Did you want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you all very much. We implemented this program in San Marcos a few years ago. It started in Wimberley over 25 years ago. This year in Hays County alone, we took Christmas gifts to over 758 children. We raised over $38,000. So we hope to grow it in San Marcos. It's a really special thing to be able to be in the room when giving those presents away. So thank you for your support and thank you for this recognition.
Thank you. One more. There's just one more. Michelle, I think Michelle's here somewhere. So Michelle, representing, I want to say it wrong, United Ways of Hays and Caldwell County. Right? Education is a cornerstone in the mission of United Ways of Hays and Caldwell counties, as it is essential to the success of our community. The United Way partners with San Marcos CISD programs in pre-K through high school. Literacy initiatives are top tier with projects such as Born Learning and Read to Succeed, implemented at a very early age. These include Sunday stories at the public library, pre-K reading days, early literacy book drives, and the Born Learning Academies held at Bonham Pre-K School for families and caregivers. The support continues through secondary schools with the Lunch, Learn, Live United programs currently in place at San Marcos High School, teaching professional skills and demonstrating career opportunities at the high school level. San Marcos CISD would like to take this opportunity to thank United Way of Hays and Caldwell County for their wonderful support of our students and community. Did I say it? You want to say something?
Oh, sure. Just, just so honored to be able to come into our school district. We are in the Bonham Pre-K at least once a month reading to all of the kiddos, and we felt like it was really important to not only do that, but to build our teacher library. So every time we go in, teachers receive new books. This year we delivered over 8,500 books to 1,500 pre-K students throughout Hays and Caldwell counties. In addition to that, they got a 40-page early literacy and kindergarten readiness guide for their parents. And then tomorrow night, you are all welcome to come see what the Born Learning Academy looks like. It's a free course for parents who just need that extra hand to learn how to be their child's first and best teacher. We provide dinner. Thank you to all of our churches who support that. And then they have a free 6 weeks course, and we kick our third academy off tomorrow night. And we invite all of you to come and join us and see what those academies look like. We wouldn't be able to do this without the support of our community. This last year we gave out over $365,000 back to our community, and that's because of people like yourselves that give. And so thank you so much. If you have donated to United Way, over $5 million in the past 20 years has gone back into our communities, and this is just a few of the ways that those dollars go back. So thank you all very much for your recognition tonight. We appreciate it.
We're good. So again, once again, I just want to thank everybody from our district who took part in helping get this school board recognition together. It takes a team. As a superintendent of schools, on a personal note, I would like to thank the board members. It's been 7 months. It's hard to believe, right? It's been 7. It's like dog years. You know,
Go in there.
you don't really realize the role that school board members have. And I know there's a movement in the state to get school board members to be more active. Ours are active. Ours actually asks the questions that many school boards don't ask. And so for that, I appreciate them taking a chance on a precocious young, I say young guy, because if you go to midwinter conference, I am young. So they took a chance on me, and hopefully I think they realize that my charge is to take care of the kids of this district. I see our Boy Scouts sitting there, so that the challenge to them is they're going to be our future national merit finalists, right? That's our plan for them, and then they can decide where it is they want to go. But on a personal note, thank you very much for taking a chance on me, and hopefully we're doing some great things. We are doing a lot of wonderful things, and let's keep this moving forward. Students, if now you want to get up and leave as we transition, you are more than welcome to get up, because it's probably going to be a long board meeting, and all y'all have
do it when you
homework.
call them out. They want to sneak away.
All right. So we'll go ahead and begin our program, Madam President.
Going to go into public forum. John P. Crowley has asked to speak on the bond.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Mr. Superintendent, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the bond, and I thank Mr. McLaughlin for appointing me to the Bond Advisory Committee. And I think y'all know from my term on the board, I think I always was a little on the fiscal conservative, maybe a little bit more than a little on that side. But anyway, that hasn't changed. I was just going to make, I made a few comments at the meeting last week when I was there, and there's another meeting, I believe, scheduled for tomorrow. So I just kind of wanted to bring some concerns out, and I'm really not sure, not being on the dais anymore, you know, kind of where y'all are in this process. So, but anyway, it's a concern initially, the amount that all the proposals were, you know, 110 or 120 million, and now that the last meeting it was 94 to 114 million. Although these proposals at this time probably would not increase the tax rate, it will increase the amount of taxes paid because it would lengthen the debt, the amount of time that we're paying debt to the taxpayers would pay. Also, you know, we've met 3 or 4 times, and I think that the biggest part of this bond was really focusing on dealing with growth in our district. I mean, I think it's not a question that we need another elementary school. I think it's not a question that we need additional capacity at our middle schools. And I think there are other priorities. I just think that I wish that sitting on this committee that the board would sort of fine-tune and help look at these priorities a little bit more, because when you look at these and you say 17 million for the high school, but it's not broken down, or 13 million for De Zavala, then it's not really broken down to what that means. You know, is that $12 million for a new roof and $1 million for the rest of it. But I think that, we need to be cognizant that the city also may be putting a bond on in May. The county just passed a bond raising taxes, I think, approximately $300 on the average household. So I wish that as I work on this committee, that the board would help fine-tune a number that more addresses needs, the absolute needs that our district has, not the wants. And I think it would be helpful for the committee moving forward to do that, and also to know what is this board, because ultimately y'all are going to sit and vote and say, yes, I want to take this out to voters, and to say, what is the maximum amount? Because as I said at the meeting the other night, is I think that we all have things we could do to our house. Is everyone's house perfect? Is every one of our schools perfect? I would say probably not any school in the state of Texas. Even new ones don't have something that could be different. So I just ask that, to provide a little more clarification for us to the committee, and then that the board, get together and say really, what are we comfortable with in terms of a number going out to voters, and something that really addresses the district's needs, okay? And more detail for the committee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for your input.
Thank you.
I'll turn this off now. That's all.
Move on to our reports. Financial report, please.
In your packet on page 3 is the financial report for December. By looking at the report, it looks like we're right on target. If there's any questions for anyone from the board. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Academic update. Texas Academic Performance Report.
Y'all have,
Yeah. It was
board members, y'all have a
additional-
handout.
There was an extra packet to give it by 20.
It's on.
Happy School Board Appreciation Month, and thank you for all you do. And just to reiterate what Mr. Cardona said, thank you for taking a chance on a lot of us that are new to this district, and for this great experience, but also for making us better leaders by asking questions and helping us think to do what's best for the students of San Marcos. That's my presentation. Okay, so as you're well aware, the TAPER report is the Texas Academic Performance Report, which replaces the AEIS Indicator System report. This has been in effect now for the last 3 years. The differences between AEIS and TAPER is the TAPER focuses on STAR proficiency, STAR progress measures, and post-secondary indicator results, which are all in your TAPER packet. Also, at the end of this presentation, there will be a link to the financial report that Ms. Griffith has passed out. The TAPER report has been published on the district website under the TLA department link under accountability, and all of our campuses are linking their campus TAPER report to their website as well. We have 90 days from the time the report was released on November 30th of 2016 to do the presentation, excluding the holidays, and so we're well within our time frame. Again, this just shows where you can access the TAPER report on the TEA website, the SMCISD website, or it's available at campus offices. The overview will focus on student and staff information, demographics, programs, and the budget. So, this is just the first 9 slides are basically a review of what we discussed in August. As we go through this, it's all the grade levels for the content areas, just placed a little bit differently. The trends that we noticed back in August that still remain, because the data hasn't changed from 2016, is that we still need to come up with strategies as we've been implementing for our economically disadvantaged, our English language learners, and our special ed student populations. But mostly, we need to focus on all student groups so we can continue to close the performance gap. So this is the 3 through 8 reading performance, basically where it says percent at phase in satisfactory standard or above. That's really level 2 satisfactory, level 2 final recommended, and level 3 advanced. We're just going to go through these slides until we get
What is 2 or more mean?
2 or more is at exceeds. That's like on slide 20.
Okay.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, it's on there. So, okay, so then here's the end of course exam for English 1 and English 2. The state was at 71% and the district was at 57% for English 1, and then for English 2, the state was at 72% and the district's at 57%. For mathematics, grades 3 through 8 performance, the average state passing rate was between 73-75% for grades 3 through 5, and grade 6 was at 62%, 7 was at 69%, and grade 8 was at 82%. Those are the state averages. If you look, let me see. One day I'll learn how to use my clicker here. Oh, this way, this way, this way. There we go. If you look right there, I'm holding it backwards, I'm not shaking, but right there, grade 8, all that tells you where we are as a district. So that's right at 69%. For grade 3, we were at 66%, grade 4, about 62%, grade 5, right under 80%. For end of course mathematics, this is our Algebra 1. It's all students that took the Algebra 1, and the state was at 78%, and the district is at 61%. Again, you know, focusing on our special ed population, which is the tan, and our ELL population, which is the light blue. For 5th and 8th grade science, grade 5, the average for the state was 74%. The district was right about 61%. And then for grade 8, you had 75% for the state, with the district below the state average. So as you can see, as we go through the slides, we're hovering right under the state average or slightly above. And again, our special ed, ELL, and our economically disadvantaged scores are just slightly lower. The end of course biology, 87% was the state average, and we were right under at 90. And so
The state average was at 90%.
91, sorry, 91, and then we were at 90. All right, so 2016 social studies performance, state was at 63%, and the district, all right here, is at 54%. In 2016, end of course, U.S. history, again, state was at 91, and we're at about 87%. So, and then we have the 4th grade and 7th grade writing. Again, looking at our tan right here for SPED, and then for ELL, we have the state at 69%. We were right below about 62. And then grade 7, state was at 69, and again, we're about 61. Okay. So now all subjects phase in satisfactory standard and above. This performance category indicates that students are sufficiently prepared for the next grade level or the course. They have reasonable likelihood of success, but may need short-term targeted academic interventions. So the state right here is at 75%. The district is at 67%. This is all subjects for all grades. Then mathematics. Again, slightly below the state average, which is at 73% right here, and then we're at 67%. We show consistency, is what we're showing. We just need to make sure that we start closing that performance gap through our targeted interventions and the strategies and inclusion that we have in place. For for writing, we have the state, which is right here, right under 80%, and then we have the district at 63%. Oh wait, that's science, sorry. So that was 79%. Did you all see the writing slide?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna keep going. And then, of course, we have social studies. Again, social studies is consistent. We hover right at or slightly beneath the state average, but the state was at 77, and social studies for the district was at 73. The STAR percent met or exceeded progress. This is 61% for the district and 60% for the state. The progress measure is determined by calculating the student's current year score with a previous year score to determine a progress target. So this is growth. Are we showing growth? So that's good right there. Again, this was all grades for reading. Then for mathematics, the district was at 58%, and you have the state, which is at 63%. Going on to the STAR percent exceeded progress, this is scoring at the level 3 advanced. Scoring at the level 3 advanced. These are where all of our advanced academic students should be scoring. We have 16% for both state and district for reading. Then for the exceeded progress for mathematics, the district is at 12%, and then you have the state at 17%. So again, in mathematics, you see the trend where we're still a few percentage points beneath the state average. Attendance. This is for the 2014-2015 school year. The state average was 95.7. And then we have the district average at 95.2. 96.2% of the English language learner population came to school in 2014 and 2015. The dropout rate. Now this slide looks a little skewed. Let me explain this to you. This is 2014-2015 for 7th and 8th grade. If you look at the state average was 0.3% of the population dropped out in grade 7 or 8. The district average is 0.5% of the population. 2 or more races right here is only at, let's see, I have it written down, sorry, I can't read. Is 2 or more races is right here, slightly above 6%. What we need to understand is that this year alone, we had a total of 10 7th and 8th graders, which equated to just 1 student in that grade level dropping out. For ELL, we had 86 students in 7th and 8th grade for the 2014-2015 school year, and we had 2 students drop out, and this was like at 2.4%. The next slide. Grades 9 through 12, any grade, 9, 10, 11, or 12, in the 2014-2015 school year. The state was at 2.1, the district was at 3.7. Here, for this grade, for this year, 2014-2015, we had 12% of the English language learner population drop out of school. You're probably thinking, why? Any newcomers that come in at this time may be a little more difficult for them to catch up. It's challenging. They're expected to acquire the language quickly, and then we have to put them through the STAR exam process. So at that point, the newcomers most likely are getting frustrated, and during this particular year, they dropped out of school.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz-Mills, I know you were giving percentages, and then 2 of those you listed the exact number. What was the total number of 7th and 8th graders in 9 through 12 who dropped out during that year?
The 7th and 8th graders that dropped out in the 2014-2015 school year?
Yeah, well, total, 7th and 8th, and then 9th through 12th.
Let me see, let me go back. I've got it. It's this slide. Let me go back a slide. Okay. So the total right here of 7th and 8th graders was 0.5%. Mr. Barton, I think it's like page 12 of the Tabor report. Can you see if there's an actual number there, please? So I'll have Mr. Barton look at that.
And then also 9 through 12th as well.
Okay. I think it's like page 12 or 13 towards the end. Yes, ma'am.
Just to clarify, so from the slide on 2014, 2015 attendance across all grades, I'm reading that our English language learners have the highest attendance rate, right? But
Right.
then also
All
the highest dropout rate, 9 through 12.
That year, yes. So this is probably our elementary
Strange.
and the majority of our middle school, and then probably half of our high school. That's what it is.
They want to continue the presentation.
When do we get, I'm sorry, when do we get the report? I know that we're always behind on the dropout rate. I mean, that's always been 1 year, last. So,
2 years.
so next year we'll be getting the report for 2016, 2017?
This is 2014, 2015
2015,
dropout. Next year we'll get 2015, 2016
So we
dropout.
won't be able to get.
We won't
Do we
get
have
this
any
year's data.
indication at this point in time, I mean, how things are going for us here?
We can run a report.
I would like to see that if we could. I mean, I know that the state doesn't concern me at that point in time, it's just us.
We can run a report.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. So this is the dropout rate for grades 9 through 12. This next slide, the 4-year longitudinal graduation date. This is any student who entered school in the fall of 2011, the 2011-2012 school year that was designated to graduate in the spring of 2015. That's those students right there in that cohort. As you can see, we had right here 46.7% of the ELL population graduated, but we also had 46.7% of that cohort, remember, starting from the point of entry in 2011 to the time of graduation, you had 46.6% drop out. You had about 6%, that light shade of blue there, are the continuers. Those are the 5th-year seniors. So
46?
So if I entered my freshman year in 9th grade and I drop out, then Mr. Barton comes in the same year and he drops out his 10th grade year, and Miss Dre drops out her junior year. We're still counted into this longitudinal data.
So it's cumulative.
It's cumulative. Yes, sir.
And I know you won't have this currently, but as an information request, this number really stands out to me, that ELL 4-year
Yeah,
graduation rate. I would
46.
like to know, of the ones that aren't in dark blue, how they break out in years in the district. You know, if they arrived their 10th grade year, they dropped out later their 10th grade year or their 11th grade year, there's only so much of that we can own. But if most of them were here in elementary, that's a whole different story for me, at least.
Yes, and so that's something that Mr. Grijalva and I, is he here today? That's something that Mr. Grijalva and I were talking about earlier today, because as we were going through all of these slides, I wanted those questions. So that's something that we're going to go back and backtrack.
One of the most disturbing things is the link between their very low performance on EOC language arts exams and their dropout rate. I mean, it's quite possible they're making a rational decision, as much as we don't want to say that, because their chances of success are very limited. They choose to go on into the workforce or whatever, and we need to change that story if that's the case.
And so part of that story is that we're starting to, we've audited all of the LPAC files. Those are the linguistic accommodation folders for any ELL student. We're making sure that students are receiving their language accommodations. We're making sure that parents are aware of, the strategies and the support that we can do that. And we're looking back at, what model are they on? Remember, we were in an early exit type model, and so students hadn't acquired their language. So I think that contributes to a lot of this. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead,
Is
Nico.
the LPAC review going on at all grade levels or just in the high school?
We did an LPAC review on all grades.
And are we also at the same time reviewing who's conducting that LPAC, whether or not it's a
Yes.
teacher, how many assignments that person has?
I can give you that information. I have it by campus and percentage of who did not have
Great.
what.
Thank you.
Okay?
Ms. Costilla?
Mr. Cardona or Ms. Ruiz Mills, we have a lot on our table today, and you presented a report, but I really would like to have a report on the dropout, on the programming. What kind of resources, what are we accessing as far as
Okay.
resources to address the dropout? What basically are we doing? These are high numbers, and that
Yes.
dropout rate has always concerned me. So I'd like to know what is going on and whether it's something that maybe this board needs to be really made aware of, to where we need to implement some resources, for instance.
Absolutely. And for that, when we do that at agenda prep before the board presentation, I'll include high school administration and Dr. Valadez as they assist in these programs.
Thank you.
Okay? All right.
And the dropout could also include kids who say they're going to another school district but never show
Yeah.
up there.
Right. And they don't show up there. So, yes. All righty. Going on. So here's the 4-year graduation rate. We just saw that. This time it's without the continuers and without the dropouts. All right. So right there, we have about 84% of all of the students in the class of 2014 graduated, and then you have it by demographic. And what we'll do is I'll put a comparison to last year's. We'll get all those numbers. Class of 2015 college-ready graduates goes back to what Ms. Hanson was talking about. These are the students that had passing level 2 and level 3, final recommended and advanced in both English and math and STAR exam. This basically indicates that students are ready for college and to take the rigorous courses, and they demonstrate the ability to think critically and apply the assessed knowledge and skills. All right.
Do you know what the state overall average is on college readiness?
Can you look on page 15? I'm so sorry. I'm just having them look for me. If not, that's something that we can also get for you.
And Ms. Ruiz Mills, just for additional clarification, this data is reflective of the 2014-2015 year, correct?
Yes.
So this is 2 years delayed, okay.
Yes. But we have last year's information, so we can do a comparative, and I can put 3 graphs together.
Do we have a number as to the ones that graduated in 2015? Do we have a number? An
So
actual
right here
number?
in 2014, 2015, we had 74.5% were college and career-ready graduates. It was page 13.
I think Ms. Costilla was asking, what was the number in the graduating
I
class?
wanted, and it could be that something you can give me later. I wanted a number of how many graduated in.
I can do that. Next
Okay.
time I'll bring you
That's
the
fine.
raw
That's
data
fine.
and the percentages. Okay. Average SAT score at the time for 2015, the average SAT score in the state of Texas was 1393, and the average district SAT score was 1382. For the state, the composite ACT score was 20.6, and the district was 19.4. As you know, we tested over 2,000 students this year, 7th through 11th grade in PSAT, so that's going to help them. We're going to be giving on March 1st the SAT to all juniors at the high school. Through College Board, we have access to the Khan Academy and SAT Prep, and through a program that the district has, Edgenuity, we have unlimited users. So I know Dr. Turnbow is looking at setting up the library so students can go in during their lunch and access the SAT and ACT Prep. So I believe we'll have more student participation because of the March 1st, and we'll see an increase in scores as we start preparing the students for that. Student ethnic distribution, 72.2% of the population is Hispanic compared to the state of 52.2%. The student demographics, we have 70.8% of our population is economically disadvantaged. The state is 59. We have 29% non-eco DIS, with the state at 41. We have 9.3% of our population is English language learners, and 18.5% is the state. We have 2.4% students that had disciplinary placements in the 2014-2015 school year, with 1.4% of the state in that same school year. And then 45.7% of our students are categorized at risk, and 50.1% of the state is categorized at risk.
What qualifies as a disciplinary placement?
That's on one of the back slides. So we're going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So 2016 teacher ethnic distribution, 65.2% of our population is white, and 16.8% of the state population is white. We have an even distribution. We've talked, Ms. Halsey, about, making sure that all of our teachers, are the best teachers, but also that we have great diversity in our district. So that is something that we'll continue to do. And then 2016 teacher years of experience. 27.2% of the district falls in the 6 to 10 year category, and you have 21.7% of the state in the 6 to 10 year category. The next one that goes up for us is 21.4, 11 to 20, and the state is 27.3. And then over 20 years is 20.5%. That's where I fall right there. You're 28. Oh, the state is at 15.7%. Okay. All righty. 2016 enrollment by program. These are just, I've included the numbers in parentheses of how many students we had enrolled in 2016. So 702 bilingual students, 8.9%. The state had 18.3. Career and technology, 1,911, and the district 24.3. It's even with the state. GT, we had 543. That 6.9% of the district, with 7.7% in the state. And then special ed, 844, which is 10.7% of the district population and 8.6% of the population. I think our goal as we go back and we review the various types of assessments for the different types of modalities of learning, we would like to get the GT to be even with the state if possible, just like we have CTE. I think that would be a good goal for us. Violent and criminal acts. This requires that school districts publish an annual report on violent and criminal incidences at campuses in the district. Right here, the 2016 violent and criminal incidences. These are only the ones that are constituted as violent and criminal. To answer your question, Ms. Hanson, violation of the student code of conduct like persistent misbehavior, those are local codes that we use. These are the ones that also get reported into PEIMS. So number is low, 216 in 2014, 2015, 2015 to 2016, 187 in 2015, 2016. Really, right here, 71 in 2014, 2015. That's a code 4, possesses and controlled substance. We had 79 in 2015 and 2016.
What do you have to do to be a disciplinary placement?
You have to come with a controlled substance. You have to conduct a felony. You have to have retaliation against a school employee. We went ahead and we included the conduct off campus in Title V, but if a student comes to us with a Title V felony, then we have to follow what we have in
So
the
is it
student
everything
code
on
of
there, or
everything in here.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yep. All right.
Oh, thank you.
Ms. Ruiz-Mills,
Yes.
can I ask a question?
Yes,
As
sir.
to reason 41, fighting, 65, is that 65 students? So if I
65.
see 20 kids fighting at the high school, is that all 20 are
Yeah.
included in the?
So if
we had, like,
all
one
20
cafeteria fight last year
If
that had like
all
30
20
kids.
are fighting, right?
Uh-huh.
And we, the administrator, we do our investigation. Every student has hit another student, then they all get the same incident report code, It all goes into the system. It's given a PEMS number, and then they all should be receiving the same punishment. Okay, now they're going to be
So they're individual.
some discretion, but yes, these are individual 65 incidences, 65 students.
So it's not considered one incident, but the total number that were
Total,
involved?
65.
And Madam President, at a future meeting, it doesn't relate to this report, but I would like to hear a report from the high school in what specific steps they're taking to combat fighting in this category 41. I know they're probably doing a lot of things, but I would like to hear about them because in the age of video, I feel like I'm seeing videos all the time, and I just want to make sure I understand so I can explain to constituents and parents what it is we're already doing.
Yes, we can do that for you. Yes, ma'am.
I find it confusing that we would have 16 students expelled to DAEP in 1 year and 0 the next year. How is that?
I don't know. Ms. Flores, are you in here? Can you answer that, please? It was serious misbehavior is defined by the Texas Education Code, while expelled 2 are placed in a DAEP.
Might have come from other districts.
She needs to come to the microphone.
Call her to the podium.
She needs to come to the microphone.
Could you come to the microphone, please?
I'm just wondering if we changed a policy or if something what
Nothing's
would account for
changed.
having so many 1 year and none the next year.
Different population every year. But the state is real specific about not sending kids to the JJ unless they are bullying within the JJ, if they are violent, and there's some descriptors of what violence is, if they are extorting is another reason, and I'm going to be like Governor Perry, I don't remember the fourth one, but there are only 4. There are only 4 reasons why you can do that.
Several of us that fall in the category, Governor Perry.
Thank you. Okay.
For a cabinet position.
Finally, Texas statute requires every district to include in the TAPER report student performance on post-secondary institutions during the first year enrolled after graduation from high school. So these are the students that graduated in 2014 that we were able to get their information when they enrolled into post-secondary public institution. So these were their total graduates, 162 entered a 4-year public university. You had 45 that had a GPA less than a 2.0. Right here you had 19 that had a GPA greater than a 3.5. We have 81 students who went into a 2-year public college, with 26 who had a GPA less than a 2.0, and then 5 who had greater than a 3.5. Then these are the graduates that went into independent colleges and universities. We were unable to track 18, 236 were not found, and then that was a total of 512 graduates. This does not give us everybody that graduated in that class. Just recently, we were able to reactivate our we were able to reactivate our account with the Student National Clearinghouse, which is a student data tracker that tracks students post-secondary. So we've activated that. We're in the process of, we've submitted the information from 2008 up until last year, and so we're just waiting for those reports. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. The
Okay.
independent college and universities, are those private?
Those are private.
And then this doesn't include students who go out of state?
No, it does not, but the National Student Clearinghouse will give us that information. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Mills, when you say from 2014, is that May of 2014 or May of 2015?
The students, this is high school graduates from 2014.
Okay,
They
so
graduated in
it's like
2014.
almost 3
And then
years.
they started college 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Ruiz Mills, in your professional opinion, do you think 236 San Marcos High School graduates left and attended out-of-state institutions of higher learning?
I think they either went to an institution of higher learning or they went into some sort of CTE program.
The 236 that are not
Yes, that are not found. And so with the Student National Clearinghouse program that we've now gone and reactivated, they're going to be able to tell us where where all the students go, including the military.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Miss Ruiz Mills, sorry. So I'm trying to compare this number to the number in the taper for the state, graduates enrolled in Texas institutions of higher education on the bottom of page 14. And the state average looks like it was 57.5%. So to compare that, I should add up the top three categories, 4-year, 2-year, independent college, and divide by the total high school graduates. And I would get 50.4%, meaning we were about 7.1% off from the state average.
Right.
And is the state average number, is that similarly flawed in that it will not account for students who attend out of state?
Yes,
Okay.
but here's the thing, and I've got to throw this but in there. I think our data will be more accurate as we're part of this national clearinghouse, because the majority of the districts have it, and we actually had it, but nobody was sending them the information. So we've taken care of that.
Okay.
One final question.
So we should have a clearer picture.
We'll have a more definite.
Mr.
clear picture.
Redondo?
Mr. Ruiz Mills, my last question regarding this slide is, so of the students that we can track in-state, it's 243. Of those 243, 153 of those have a C average or below. What does that say to the administration, or what? I mean, obviously our students are struggling when they go into
Right.
higher education that first year.
Right, and so what we've been doing this year, is implementing additional programs that teachers have access to. Remember, in 2014, the curriculum audit stated that we did not have a curriculum in secondary, or not one that was feasible and consistent among all content areas. So with the TEACS resources, with our coaches and our teachers maximizing their PLC time, they've really been coming up with purposeful lessons, aligning the benchmarks, and working with students individually and giving them more targeted intervention. So again, this data is skewed. I can tell you we're going to start seeing greater gains. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to go back to Mr. Arredondo's question. So with the number of the not found 236, some of those students might have gone to out-of-state
Right.
universities, colleges, terrific.
Right.
But wouldn't also included in that number be students who went directly into the workforce or students that went into the military?
Yes.
Right. So, okay, because I think you were asking about.
Right.
Did we assume that 236 additional students went to a
higher learning somewhere?
But this number may not be accurate.
I understand, but I don't believe that the entire 236 necessarily went on to another learning institution.
Right. They either went there, or they went into the workforce, or
Right,
into a
right.
CTE
Okay.
institution,
That's what I
or the
wanted to clarify.
military. Yes.
Ms. Villalpando?
That was, those that went into the workforce would be part of that
Yes.
200.
Ms. Costilla?
I was just, and same thing along the same lines, because I'm sitting here thinking, and I know we're all trying to be optimistic about these numbers, 236, which is a concern, but because, we'd like to think that they all went into maybe some post-secondary program somewhere, but we could be that some of them might not even be anywhere. They might just be not even
Right.
working or in the workforce or
Right.
anything, right? And a lot of it sometimes has to do with the fact that maybe they barely graduated and they're just not able to find employment.
Right.
But you are saying that we are going to get more accurate numbers.
This National Student
Okay.
Clearinghouse
I am
is
very
a data
looking forward to
tracker.
that.
Will tell us that.
And then to clarify my previous question and statement is, keep bearing in mind that this data is 2 years old, and that a majority of higher level administration, which has been brought in very recently, does not reflect the work that has been done in the last 7 to 8 months. And again, like Ms. Costilla said, and I think a number of my colleagues, is we're optimistic about the results that are going to come from the efforts brought forward. But again, I thank the staff, because I think a number of us who have been here just a few years were concerned about these numbers, and I think we're finally making headway, and so I'm very optimistic and excited about that.
Thank you. Then finally, Ms. Griffith had gone through this, but this is the link that takes you to the financial data report that Ms. Griffith has gone over. This is the 2014-2015 actual financial data. I know we received an A on the first rating, right? and so he received an A, but this is just the report of the finances that go with the presentation. Oh, my time's up.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's the report.
And I have just, if you could email, I had requested at the preparation meeting the comparison numbers for the prior year and those different categories of the report. I didn't see it in what I had here, but if you could just email that out, that would be helpful for me. The 14, 15 numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Thank you.
I can get that. All right, thank you.
We're up to approval of consent agenda items.
A motion that we approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Halsey seconds. All in favor?
6.
7-0.
7-0. Items for action. Presentation and approval of the 2016 Comprehensive Financial Report.
Yes, good evening. Our auditors, ABIP Certified Accountants and Advisor Group, is going to be here tonight to do our August 31st, 2016 financials. On page 13, you will find the presentation, followed by the annual financial report that is on page 23, and then the management report that's on page 117. So Jeremy Barbado is going to be here to present this.
T-test, and this thing is on 2016. Oh.
It was just to hire these people.
Good evening, Board and Madam President. Thank you for having me. Let me know if you can't hear me. Try not to scream into y'all's ears. Like Ms. Griffith said, my name is Jeremy Barbado. I'm with ABIP. I'm an audit manager there. Mike Del Toro is the partner on the account, and he's at another board meeting, school district meeting, giving their presentation. So he sent me in his place. I actually conducted the audit. I was supervising the audit. I was here every day of field work performing the audit. So if you have any questions, just let me know over anything I cover here today. So what's in an annual financial report? Our independent auditor's report, the management discussion analysis, government-wide financial statements, the fund level financial statements, and the notes to the financial statements. There's also some required supplementary information such as your budget to actual and your general fund and any other special revenue funds you may have as major, none in this current fiscal year, and also your TRS net pension liability and related ratio schedules that are required as supplementary information. So our independent auditors report, just some standards we have to follow. We have to follow the generally accepted auditing standards and also the government auditing standards and uniform guidance over your federal programs. Those are the standards we conducted our audit for the purpose of performing the audit and issuing an opinion on your financials and whether they're fairly stated in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles or U.S. GAAP. And that's our opinion is unmodified, or it's a clean opinion, the highest opinion you can get from independent auditors. It basically means your financials are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. The management discussion analysis is kind of the cliff notes to the financial statements. It kind of breaks down the financial numbers into more layman terms. It covers financial highlights, the overview of the financial statements, the government-wide financial analysis and the district fund analysis, and then some budgetary highlights and capital asset and debt administration. Go over each one of those now. So the government-wide financial statements, this is more of a full accrual level. These are all your funds consolidated and converted to a more private industry accepted standard, or the full accrual level. This isn't the level that y'all do y'all's budget and make y'all's decision on. I'll get to that. This page here is your net position, or your net worth of the district on a consolidated full accrual basis. That's my notes here. Your total net position was $73.4 million, and of that, $7 million is invested in capital assets, and that reduced significantly in the current year. I'm sorry, it increased $9.6 million due to y'all's payoff of y'all's debt, and then also the ongoing construction in progress, the use of your bond funds that you're spending to build your capital projects. Your unrestricted is $2 million, which is up slightly from the prior year, about $450,000 from the prior year. In this table, there's a better table in your MD&A on page 8. So now the fund analysis of the district's funds. This is your fund balances for the fiscal year. Your general fund had an increase of $900,000 from last year to this year, and your overall your overall fund balance was $35 million. Of that, $24 million is for ongoing use. It's a very healthy fund balance. It's about 4 months of operating reserves. GFOA, Government Finance Officer Association, recommends 3 to 6 months, so you're right in the middle of that ballpark. So you have very healthy fund balance for ongoing operations. Total combined fund balance was $40 million. That was a decrease of $7.3 million, and that decrease was due to your early debt retirements and then also some capital projects that you spent, the bond proceeds. Was there any questions over that or the annual financial report before I go into the letter of conduct of audit?
We're good.
Yeah, I have some questions, but I'm gonna hold them to the end.
Okay, that works. So letter of conduct of audit, this is our required communication with you, the Board of Governance over the school district. We deal with management on a day-to-day basis to perform the audit, and so this is our communication with you required by our standards to let you know if there were any new accounting policies in the year. There were none. Any new accounting estimates, or to let you know that the figures in here are based on estimates, such as your allowance for doubtful accounts on property taxes. Any difficulties or disagreements with management we would have to let you know about those. We had none. And any uncorrected or corrected misstatements that were material to the financial statements, and we didn't have any during the year. Also, if you had any consultations with independent accountants, those accountants would have to contact us to get full circumstance before giving management a decision. It's called opinion shopping or getting a second opinion. To my knowledge, that didn't happen this year. I'd like to give some perks to management for following the Public Funds Investment Act. You were in compliance with that act, which means you went to the required training, you're investing in the appropriate securities and investment vehicles. So I'd like to commend management for that. I did have one comment on internal control and other related matters, and it's over your campus activity funds and student activity funds that are collected and collected and processed at the school, the campus level. Currently, there isn't any written formal procedures district-wide for that for y'all to handle those funds, but y'all have that in process now. So our recommendation is just that, is to establish some written policies and procedures, and to also enforce training or have training for the bookkeepers at the campus level to make sure that those funds are getting accounted for and reported to the business office. To my knowledge, that's ongoing right now. That change has already been implemented.
Ms. Costilla?
Mr. Cardona, I think this has come up before in some of these reports regarding the operations of those funds, and I'm not saying that there's a major issue, but I really would like to see some definite processes and steps built into it rather than, I know this has come up before, so I just want to make sure that we do have those things in place as far as that when you were talking about at the campus level.
Yes, we are putting another one of those.
I've seen comments before and reports in the past, and that's what I'm saying is that haven't seen those comments before. I really would like to see something in operation as far as implemented for operation with whatever policies and procedures that can be developed for those campuses for that purpose.
What's our goal or timeline for that?
2017-18. I mean, that along with several other systems and procedures and policies that kind of go to this issue we're putting in place, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
Sure, a couple.
McLaughlin?
If I could. Yeah, first of all, help me out on page 77 in the pension liabilities, pension expense, and deferred outflows of resources, deferred inflows of resources related to pensions category. There's an economic assumption number 4, which reads the payroll growth assumption was lowered from 3.5% to 2.5%.
That's to page 43 of your report.
It's 77 of my book.
77 of my
Yes, you're going to be looking for the invisible page 77 of your book. Page
I'm not
43.
finding
Thank you,
that
Ms.
one.
Hanson.
I'm sorry, what was it?
So page 43.
43.
All right.
At the bottom, the fourth economic assumption
Yes.
is that payroll growth was lowered from 3.5 to 2.5. Is that pension payrolls or current active staff payrolls?
It's covered payroll. So anyone that's eligible for TRS, which
Yeah.
is everyone employed by the
current
district.
and later?
Yes.
Because it seems like our payroll has gone up and up and up because we've hired in more positions. We're a growing district. So I was concerned that that assumption would not apply to, that actually, we would not see a decrease in our payroll growth.
These assumptions were actuarially determined by the people that were hired by TRS.
Okay.
We're merely reporting your proportionate share of that liability.
Those were statewide assumptions.
These were statewide assumptions, yes.
Not district-wide.
No.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you for
yes.
that. And then on page 12, there was, this is a this is kind of written as a general opinion, page 12 of your report. So it reads as such, but it mentions that we adopted a budget that projects a decrease in fund balance of $3.9 million in August of 2016. I first wanted to see if you were familiar with, over the last couple of years, we've adopted budgets that project a deficit, yet revenues come in that
Higher.
surpass expectations and we don't have a deficit at all.
Correct.
Have you seen that trend as you've looked year over year?
Yes.
Okay. And then it says, okay, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I did notice that, and mainly the main increase in revenues that you're speaking of is the state allotment.
Right.
That's coming in way higher than what we're budgeting. And we hire a third party to determine that number, and what goes into that formula grant is your appraisal values, basically other support you're going to get from the local level and the feds, the federal level, and the state then formulates how much they can pass on to still meet your needs.
I understand.
And attendance.
And there's one sentence right after that says, this decrease, so the decrease in fund balance you're referencing of $3.9 million, which we may or may not see, but this decrease is attributed to teacher salary and benefit increases. That stood out to me because I compared what we adopted in August of 2016 to what we had done in the past, and actually our teacher salary and benefit increases were $2.2 million year over year, some of which were position growth, not necessarily increases. So
Sure.
It only accounted for a portion of that overall. It reads as if the whole thing was, the way I read it, the decrease is attributed to teacher salary.
Maybe we should put primarily in there.
Something like that.
Yeah,
Since this
so-
is kind of a historical record of what
Broad.
we're doing, I wouldn't want the teachers to think that we had, they had caused all that, or we had done that, because I'm sure they would point out to us that they had not. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
I motion that we approve the 2016 comprehensive financial audit as presented.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Was it Ms. Halsey or?
Ms. Castillo.
And this one. Really doesn't matter.
Any further discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
And for the public, this will be on our website after today.
Consider approval of fifth core commitment. Sorry?
Move that we approve.
Ms. Halsey, Ms. Hanson moved and Mr. Arredondo seconded. Any discussion?
Can you read it for us? Everybody will know.
If I can find it real quick.
I can read it.
Go ahead.
SMCISD is committed to meaningful, reciprocal partnerships and opportunities which serve students, families, and the San Marcos community.
Thank you.
All in favor? 7-0. Consideration and possible approval on an early resignation incentive for professional, paraprofessional, and auxiliary employees.
Make a motion that we approve the early resignation incentive for professional, paraprofessional, and auxiliary employees.
Ms. Villalpando seconds. Any discussion?
You want to make the presentation? Or is there a presentation?
Yeah.
We spoke about it. This was an information item at the December meeting. The only change we made based on the conversations we had at the December meeting was to add a provision in place where the employees could return back to San Marcos CISD, but it had to be a 2-year layoff before they can return. But that's the only change we made from our December discussion.
And would they be eligible to do this again?
2 years from now?
No, I mean, let's say I go under this, resign, do the early resignation, come back in 2 years, and then could I do this again
To
later?
receive the
Oh,
the incentive.
to get the
incentive.
$1,000.
We would have
If we did it when they returned, they,
we would have to propose probably that incentive probably to y'all again. Which I don't know if we-
What
I
the
would
ins-
like
in other words,
to somehow not allow them to
come back.
do that again.
They
Take
can
the incentive.
come back.
Twice.
Yeah.
well, in 2 years from now, when we,
This
if we,
incentive
if
is
we,
only for
This year.
just for this,
Right.
for this year,
For the, oh, I see. It's applicable just to
Now.
now, yeah.
just
okay.
now.
Ms.
This is not
Halsey?
But we've done it in
reoccurring.
the past,
Yes,
several times.
right.
Ms. Halsey?
What will the 30-day time period be?
From February 1st to February 27th this year.
February 1st to February 27th?
28th.
We need 30 days.
Yes, for the entire month of February.
That's still 20.
It's not
8
30
days.
days.
Right.
Right, so we're going to go to March 2nd?
Oh, we can go March 2nd, because
Okay.
I think we did, you're right,
Gotcha.
actually in our policy proposal, we said for 30 days, so we'll
And they
go
have
to
to
March
you.
work
2nd.
for the district for 5 years.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know we had discussed this at a prior meeting, sorry, Ms. Cantu, but resignation also includes retirement notification, correct? It's not
That-
just, that, I mean.
That is
they can
correct.
resign or retire.
Resign, retire, meeting the parameters that are actually in the policy that was.
Mr.
in your
Mr.
packet.
McLaughlin?
And for those who weren't at the December meeting, the purpose of this is not to encourage resignations or to somehow drive some sort of reduction in the overall staff. This is just in order for human resources to understand, get an earlier picture of positions you might need to fill. Is that an accurate statement?
That is correct.
Okay.
Forecasting.
For forecasts. And typically we, especially like this year, we had 75% of our vacancies were May and beyond. So we're just trying to hopefully have more information earlier for planning purposes, as you just mentioned.
Any other discussion? All in favor? 6, all opposed? 6-1.
Madam President, I'd like to take item 7D, consideration and possible approval of additional class waivers off the agenda.
Do we need a vote for that? We're just good? Okay. E, consideration and possible approval of new positions.
Thank you very much. We, in our special education area, has been one of the areas of tremendous growth for us. And over at Hernandez has been a campus that is a host site for alternative learning curriculum students or life skills students. And so that's a campus that we're needing to open up another classroom and deal with some students that their individual education plan is requiring more assistance. And so we're requesting 2 additional instructional associates to work in those environments, and that will be for the rest of this year. And because of the growth that we're having in that area, we fully expect that they will be needed next year as well. But we've been working with special education all throughout this year for efficiency, moving people around, trying to serve our students as much as possible. But with our shuffling that's taken place, we're still needing a couple extra staff members to help support that critical unit over there at Hernandez.
Ms. Hanson?
I move that we approve the hiring of these new 2 positions.
I'll second.
Mr. Arredondo seconds. Any discussion?
I have a question, yes.
Question.
On the heels of the presentation and the taper report, and this may be to Ms. Mariano. Did I say that correctly? Yes. But I noticed we were about 2 points higher in SPED percentage than the state average. And have we looked into why that might be? Do we feel that's on account of transfers, over-identification, clusters of a population specific to this area, or to what do we attribute that higher percentage?
Ms. Mariano, would you let our special ed director answer that question?
I think it's interesting right now with all of the discussion going on with the 8.5% from TEA and that all of the school districts saying that school districts were under-identifying. Whereas I think that the guidance always has been, we have a set eligibility criteria defined by the federal government, and they tell us these are the parameters. We take that and we look at criteria, and then you decide eligibility. It's not, we don't make our eligibility decisions based upon an 8.5% cap. We base our eligibility decisions based upon definitions and need for specially designed instruction for students. So, what do I attribute it to? I think we just have a higher population right now of students that need specially designed instruction.
And I think my understanding is in part that the cap imposed by TEA was artificial, and so it sounds like to me that we have been adhering to the guidelines with fidelity rather than artificially capping and preventing students who need the services from receiving the services. And for that, I'm really grateful to y'all, and I appreciate it. So.
Thank you.
Ms. Costilla?
I don't know, maybe it's true or not. Another factor, one of the factors that I've heard is that our special ed services are really a lot better than in surrounding areas. That's what I've heard, and so people tend to then bring their students to provide those, for the provision of those services, because we tend to really provide better services than what those other school districts. So for that, I think we should be, even though it does increase the higher percentage for us here, but I think it's good to have that kind of reputation.
We also have, I think, great partnerships with Texas State University in different departments, speech, school psychology, behavior, the autism, the CARES clinic, so I think that helps as well.
Do we provide,
Ms. Hanson?
do we also provide services for students not enrolled in the district?
Yes, we do. I think we do, didn't we?
You mean like private school students? Right, there's not that many. We don't have that many private school students, but yes, we do. If you have a student that has a disability that enrolls in a private school, there's a proportionate share of federal funds that we have to spend on those students. But the majority of our population are definitely here. And we do have a lot of transfers. We have a high mobility of students moving from other districts with disabilities.
Any further questions, discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Consider approval of transportation salary changes.
Also in December, board, you remember hearing an account from our director of transportation and that team that talked about some real realities that we're dealing with in transportation. And as we mentioned in December, we've been working all year and struggling with the bus driver shortage situation that we've been dealing with. The Department of HR and the Department of Transportation has gotten very close together trying to deal with this concern because the impact not only is ultimately affecting our students in terms of service delivery, but also the other members of our staff. And they have some really good qualities in the fact that they require all their staff members to be CDL certified, but the downside of that is when they have a shortage time in a situation like we're dealing with, they're required to drive. And so many of our other staff members are requiring to arrive at work early and to drive in the afternoon. And then, of course, their work is, their primary job is placed second during these periods. And so it's been a strain for everyone, including their leadership. And so we've been working for different things. We've met with the Department of Texas Workforce Commission, set up some formal arrangements with them. We've attended some job fairs, had our own job fairs. We've did some posting at kind of abnormal job posting sites. We've done all sorts of things. And it has netted some gains, but not enough to keep up with the losses. Since May of 2016, we've lost 35 drivers, and we've hired almost 20. So we have a loss of drivers, and we're not able to keep up to the level that's necessary. So we've met, and we've kind of talked about some other opportunities and some other things that we can do to help alleviate our job shortage. When we look at our people that are leaving our district, one of the main things that they say is the fact that they are transitioned to jobs, first of all, that pay more. Secondly, they're transitioned to positions that are full-time. And the third thing they mentioned is the working at maybe a different type of hours. And so what we did was we looked at those reasons and came up with a retention and recruitment plan that we want to hopefully get your consideration and approval this evening. One of the first things that we have currently in place in terms of a recruitment plan is right now we have a incentive of a $500 bonus for anybody that brings in a bus driver and that stays with us 90 days. Well, the evidence that I've seen as of last week was no one, is that right, Mr. Hudson? No one has actually, Mr. Hudson, you mind stepping forward? No one has actually been able to receive that that incentive. So that incentive has not been working, the one we've had in place for years. Okay, but we realize that there's no way that we could. Well, there's no way. It's just we don't believe it's best practice to look at revising some type of recruitment plan if we also don't look at stopping the bleeding, which is the retention piece. And so we felt that we needed to have and work on both of those things simultaneously. Looking at the recruitment side of the house, we are looking at increasing our pay from $14 to $16. We will be leading the market, and that is something we feel that we need this charge. If we get all this, the items approved, we plan to have a huge campaign to be able to show the community that, hey, we're really serious about our transportation department. We're serious about hiring quality applicants. The board and the community have put in place a program to help energize this effort. Was there a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a question on that one. The increased entry rate from $14 to $16 per hour, will that also be retroactive for our existing drivers? Will they move up accordingly? Will everybody get a $2 an hour raise?
That is the plan, and you kind of going towards my retention portion, but let me jump down.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see it mentioned.
No,
on
not
the
a
list.
problem. That's a very good question because that was actually one of our proposals. It's not best practice typically to change salaries mid-year for employees unless there is some type of job change. That's been our practice, and we would not like to change that if we can avoid it. So we thought instead of changing salaries for the remainder of this year, we would offer a retention incentive for our current drivers just for this year. And then for next school year, and through the budget process, then we would ask for that $2 increase for our current staff, just to get us through this year.
Before we have any,
Okay, sorry.
we have a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to motion that we approve the transportation salary changes as presented by the administration.
Second, so that we can go into a formal discussion.
We don't have to have a motion to discuss.
I mean, our board policy says we loosely follow Robert's rules.
And you can do it either way is correct.
Loosely
No.
being followed right now.
Either way is correct in Robert's
Well,
rules.
if someone wants to second or not, I mean.
I'll second.
Have a second, continue with the discussion.
Sorry, I just want to finish my question then. So if we don't increase that rate by $2, then for the existing bus drivers, are we going to have bus drivers who have been with us and who haven't left and who are now getting the hourly rate that's less than somebody who's coming in?
Okay. We don't anticipate that. We're going to package this where there will be saving $500 between now and the end of the year, and let them know that that we fully expect to bring back to the board for the 17-18 budget process to actually increase their hourly rate to $2 additional.
So if I'm a new bus driver coming in and I'm going to get paid $16 an hour,
That's correct.
then next year, am I going to get $16 an hour?
Yes, because you're going to stay with us.
But that's not the current salary for the
know.
other bus drivers.
Yeah.
That's correct. It will be, again, for next school year. It'll be 16 plus. You'll get a $2 increase.
Plus whatever the board approves
Plus-
or potentially approves during the salary and benefit, the ongoing salary and benefit discussion.
Right. If there's a general pay increase, they'll get that on top of the $2.
So the retention incentives, I'm a current bus driver at $14 an hour,
Okay.
and
You're bringing in somebody.
they're going to get $16 an hour for coming on new. Is the retention going to make me more money than the $16, or at least equal to that?
It won't be equal, but it'll be close.
I would just be so much more comfortable if we just raised the base
I-
rate
me
to 16
too.
and then gave them incentives. Like
I'd be
otherwise,
okay.
I'd quit and sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I'd
If
be
I'm
com-
going to
I'd
make
be
less
com-
money than somebody brand new coming in, I'd quit and say,
I
come
mean,
back.
I appreciate the effort, I mean, all this that's being presented, but it's not fair to the employees that have been there. And
Unless the incentives, retention
Right,
incentives are.
because, I mean, they've
equal
been
to.
there working at that
Sure.
level of hourly wage, and now they have somebody else coming new. I mean, we have these discussions over in other aspects of profession, and that
Right.
you have somebody else coming in new, they're making more than you. I mean, to me, they go through a lot, and we don't want to lose anymore.
No, we don't, which is why we wanted to make sure we did something with the
I would
people
just
that are
like
here.
to get them all at $16
Okay.
dollars.
Well, we can change that, and I don't perceive that being an issue, but we can change it to that everyone receives a $2 an hour additional now, along with the increase to 16.
Do you want to finish? Sorry, do you want to finish explaining the whole package? I sort of derailed that. I apologize.
Sure. Okay. Also, there would be another hiring bonus incentive for new recruits that come on with us, and if they stay 90 days or more, they receive $500 for each driver to come on board. In addition, there is a line item for us to place some ads on buses, which we would love to do. That'll take some work with the graphic artists and the material and such. We're looking at approximate cost of $10,000. Again, looking at the retention area, there would be, in addition to the $250 paid in February and in May, we're also looking at having an attendance incentive of $100 per month for perfect attendance. And so we have a line item of $10,000 for anticipation of employees having perfect attendance.
Mr. Redondo?
So, just because I think there's going to be a lot of discussion and some amendments to this proposal, for me, the place ads on buses, as an individual trustee, I'd like to see what those ads were before they were placed. I think, obviously, everyone sees our buses, and so I kind of want to be on the same page, because I'm sure of all the things we're going to get phone calls about, it's putting ads on buses or something along those lines. And then the other thing is that we would use a local vendor for those ads or decals or signage or whatever that might be. Just if we, preferably, I'd rather us go local on something like that.
Ms. Halsey?
Yeah, I think this is a great package. I mean, I really appreciate the incentive for good attendance. I think that's terrific, and I really would just like to see the base rate for our most loyal employees come up to match our new employees, and then I would think it was very effective.
You know, that 100 is good, but I'm going to go back to the hiring bonuses for those new recruits, that now you're going to give them $500 per driver if they bring somebody else new. Is that correct?
No, this $500 if they stay with us 90 days or more.
Oh, okay, all right, then I
They'll
misunderstood.
get a-
Thank you for correcting that. No, it's fine.
I know there's an urgency, but I would like to see this brought back with all the things that we've discussed. I'm not ready to vote on something and pay new drivers more than our current drivers, and see how all of this works out and what's the total cost. I feel like there's too many
Ifs, ands, or buts,
questions. And even if it came to a special called board meeting. I don't know if we have one before the next board meeting. I mean, I understand the urgency for it. I definitely do. But I just.
I'm comfortable moving forward, and if no one will make a motion,
I have one more question. If we just tabled it for the moment, then could we possibly get a number on what that would look like in the next hours?
I think
later in the meeting?
I have it. I just need to run to my office and grab it.
I mean, we have
because that was
how
an
many-
option that we had.
We know how many
actually
bus
as well.
drivers we have. We know how many hours there are left to pay them for the remainder of the year, right?
Right.
How many hours do they average a week?
30 hours.
All right. So,
Right.
so it's like we're just missing March and April. So instead of having a 57, if y'all wanted to pay everybody $16, instead of that line item being $57,500, it's going to be about 115 grand.
That's what it is around that,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly.
I mean, so do we want to?
We can just.
You want to table this till the end of the meeting? Can we do that?
postpone until
That,
after
that was the only change, right? Was that piece that's
Yeah.
only concern? Okay.
Raising the base rate of to $16 for
Right.
all of.
We're going to leave everything else in?
I'm comfortable with everything else.
Everything
I'm fine with
else.
everything else as well.
And we could put it until after we come back and finish the executive session that we can and
Executive,
give you
right.
ample time,
Okay.
you know.
That's
So
fine.
Could we do that?
Yeah, I think so. So, table? We'll table that and take it back up after we come back from executive session, giving admin time to pull some numbers for us.
Thank you.
G, consider approval of 2017-2018 innovative course application.
This is a 5-year renewal. Every 5 years, the course for the parenting education for school-age parents comes up for renewal, and this falls under Ms. Vogel's domain. Basically, it provides courses and community enrichment activities to prepare the students that are currently parents or expecting to be parents, and Ms. Vogel is going to give us additional information.
Hi. We use an innovative teaching course from Texas Tech called School Age Parenting, and that's the curriculum we use. We also use not just we do a more hands-on approach to our parenting class. We work with our partners in the community. We bring in WIC, Legal Aid, Texas State to do an array of lessons that are unique and innovative to teen parents, and to help our district also meet things like attendance, because by having WIC present, they aren't going to their WIC appointment and taking all day to be at WIC, or they're not going to Legal Aid in Austin having to be gone for a day. We get those people, and they come in on a regular basis through the parenting education course, and they also do it during the lunchtime period too. So it kind of augments, and we use that time. We also are in a partnership with Texas State University doing a program called Strengthening Relationships and Strengthening Families. We've been doing it for 10 years now, and it has a 3-part component of what it teaches to the teen parents. We focus on financial literacy. It talks about everything from budgeting, from apartment realizations, what does childcare really cost, but even the more hands-on approach to things like understanding payday loans and understanding for-profit educational opportunities that they will be, encountering in the future. So we really do some real hands-on with that kind of stuff. We also they do a component on love notes. It's in a federal curriculum in which they teach relationship building, not just between the partners, but learning to co-parent, but also co-parenting with grandparents or co-parenting with family members that help you. But we also, in that curriculum, help them learn soft skills to help them advocate for themselves in their academic progress, and also how to navigate with their multi-generational families that they live with. And then the third component that we do is their transitional living, and it's another semester-long part of the curriculum of this innovative parenting course, in which we help them make that transition into secondary settings, or if they're not in the right academic setting, where does that setting need to be? And that transitional setting in partnership all is with Texas State. This innovative course is a unique course. We add a lot that is special and localized, and a lot of it really helps our program students be in class. When we have FAFSA coming in and doing one-on-one work with them, we're full. We have 100% attendance that day. When we have the legal aid person, everybody's in class that day. You know, there's good reasons. And when you build those kind of people and those relationships that those kids have with those people in the community, we don't lose them gone through the rest of the day. And that's just a huge benefit for their academic success. So I hope you will consider us continuing our innovative course.
Thank you. I move that we approve the 2017-18 innovative course application.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions?
How many attendees do we have in this course in 2016-17?
We currently have served 47 students in that class to date. There's some fluctuation because they also will go to Phoenix, and we also carry that course over to Phoenix in a self-paced kind of course.
Is it an elective, so they self-select?
It is, but we highly and strongly encourage it unless there is something academic in the way of attending it.
Highly encourage, and you highly encourage the mothers or both of the parents?
Both of them. We want both fathers.
And what's the breakdown of the 47 students, male, female?
It's 80-20.
Is this program linked to the child care service?
It is not necessarily linked to the child care services, but child care services looks at their academic success and helps work on them making positive success.
Is there any interest from the administration to making it linked to students who utilize the in-district daycare services or child care services?
I think we use just kind of a soft method of trying to encourage them strongly and giving them good reasons to. And once they kind of know that population, they want to, unless they have an academic reason. Some classes conflict. ROTC is a big class that conflicts with us often. And so we try to do a self-arranged, a self-paced course with them. And we have interns that work with them and the teacher to do that. So they can still participate even if they're in other subjects.
After reviewing the information provided and just doing some research on it, again, I think this is a phenomenal program. And Jennifer, thank you for the work that y'all are doing.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Are we ready for the vote? All in favor? 7-0. I'm going to take a 5-minute break.
Another meeting.
Reconvene.
Madam President, I'm going to ask that we move up our executive session items A, B, C, and D. If there's no objections from the board.
Wait, I thought we haven't voted on the innovative course application.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. 7-0.
Okay, I'm sorry. Say,
I know our legal counsel has been here waiting, and
we're paying him.
yeah.
Can we just go to the next item, and I have a name that I'd like to recommend, and we can get that over with and
Okay.
go into executive session. if
Is
you
that
like.
all right with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. Nomination of candidate for the vacancy of Caldwell County Appraisal District.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I did not
Okay.
check that one off.
A couple of months ago, I think we voted to appoint Mr. Michael Villalpando. Unfortunately, he's unable to serve, so now that this has come back to us, I have Mr. Jim Elliott, who is a Martindale resident, and his experience is assistant principal of San Marcos High School during the 94-95 school year and the 95-96 school year. He left us to go to the Lockhart ISD. He has also served as city councilman for the city of Martindale. So he is very willing to serve if you all would like to give him that pleasure. And I would move, unless,
No, go ahead.
well, I can go ahead and move. I would move that the board approve adopting a resolution nominating Mr. Jim Elliott for the vacancy of the Board of Directors of the Caldwell County Appraisal District.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It's all yours.
All in favor?
Oh,
7-0.
Great.
well, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
No, you can steal it all day long.
Okay,
So
so
we're ready to go into executive session?
do you need a motion? I'll move.
Okay. No, I don't think so. No, okay.
At 7:47.
7:48.
want to read the item closed session. That's all.
Okay. Discussion including consultation of legal counsel regarding proposed termination of term contract of classroom teacher. Discussion regarding San Marcos High School principal candidates. Discussion regarding superintendent's formative evaluation instrument. Discussion regarding OCR complaint numbers 06-15-1575 and 06-16-1806, 06-16-1786, and matters incident thereto. Wait, do we need our notebook?
I'm taking
Mm-hmm.
and I'm leaving it back.
I have it in there. I already have it in there.
I wanted to say.
Reconvening at 9. Is it 8:59? I'm going by that. 8:59. Yes. Okay, we're going to continue with J. Consider a date. Huh?
We didn't do aye.
We haven't done. Oh, okay. I don't know why I had it checked off. Consider an order calling an election to be held on May 6th for the purpose of electing trustees for districts 1, 2, and 3.
I so move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I had a couple of questions for Mrs. Griffith. Hi, Karen. As far as early voting locations goes, I know that the order of the election includes the government center.
Yes.
Do we have the breakdown of cost of providing additional polling places? Whether it's
I
during-
didn't get a cost, however, I did call her today. I had another member request to see if it could be done at Texas State. She did say that the city has already called and inquiring that if they had an election, could they add that site? And the answer was yes. It was also asked of me to ask, then could we add, because it would be 2 days, could we add the high school as a site to that? And the answer was yes, that we could. They would be at Texas State for 2 days, and then they could move to our high school for 2 days.
Okay. I guess my primary question regarding additional polling places during early voting was neither Texas State or the high school, although I'm supportive of both of those, but it is somewhere, I guess, on the east side of I-35 for obviously districts 1, 2, and 3 predominantly are on the east side of 35. And that's where the residents reside for those trustee single-member districts. So I guess my assumption or expectation would be that if a community east of I-35 is electing representatives for those neighborhoods and areas, then their polling place for early voting would also be on that side of the highway. So I don't know if that is something, whether it's the Hays County Health Department, just because I know the government center is the only early voting place for early voting.
Okay, I can ask. I'm not the elections administrator, but I can ask for that.
And if it's not possible to do it at the health department, I would assume that we could have it at one of our schools that is located on the east side of I-35.
You mean like the high school?
I mean, whether it's Goodnight, Bonham.
She said high school
Yeah,
already.
but that's only 2 days, though,
Yeah, it would
as
only be
opposed
2
to
days.
the early voting times at the government center throughout the entire duration of early voting.
Ms.
But,
Costilla?
there are large numbers over in District 3 that are on the east side as well, so I would not want District 3 excluded from that.
I just, absolutely, I'm saying that 1 and 2 predominantly, but 3 as well. So with all 3 of those districts being on the east side, I would assume that we would provide an early voting polling place for the same duration as we are at the government center.
Okay, I can check into that.
So I'm just to make sure I'm understanding. If we had, because I was requesting about using having alternative spaces, so it would be 2 days at one and then 2 days at the other. Why not both for the full length of the early voting period?
She said that it's considered a mobile voting place, and that's what they've been accustomed to doing, and so she said they would be willing to do that. The 2 days at Texas State, and then we asked if we could do then 2 days at the high school, and she said they could manage that.
But we don't know the additional cost, or we don't
Not
know
at
if
this
there would
time,
be additional cost.
I do not know the additional cost at this time.
You don't know how much it is or if there will be additional cost?
Well, it will, because we have to pay for it's part of the elections. You have to pay for all the people that are running the elections. So, but to tell you how much that'll be, I don't know. So
And
yes,
part of that
it'll
depends
be
on who else
additional.
is going out for vote, I
Could-
presume. Like if the city were doing an election the same day, we would be able to half
Fair
some of this cost.
Yes.
Okay.
That was going to be my additional question was, obviously, if the city goes out for what I'm assuming is going to be their May election as well, there's probably some possibility of holding a joint election, so to speak.
Well, it would
all
be,
the-
because if they're
yeah.
doing it at the same time, it would be a joint election. So,
So we
the
would just have to-
cost, yeah, the cost would go down because,
We'd split it.
yeah.
We would just have to approve on our end when we call the election those additional polling places? Or by default, would our ballot be included in those machines at Texas State and the high school? So the city's going to
I
have
believe that
their,
everything is on one ballot, but I will check with Jennifer for clarification. But I do believe that, like she said, they only do one ballot, so everything is on one ballot.
okay,
One ballot, one machine.
okay.
Thank you.
So what we're approving is what we currently have.
Is the election?
And if it can change, I will bring it back as an amendment.
Thank you.
Okay. When is the deadline to have those amendments included in the order of the election? Like if we add Texas State, the high
Well,
school,
I got it,
somewhere
yes, I need
else.
to bring it back to you, because she has to include the presiding judges and the alternative judges, but at this point, we're just calling the election, so I can bring back information at a later time. You just have to have it called by February 17th.
Okay,
So, but I can bring back, because I need to bring back the presiding judges and alternative judges for your approval as well, so I
perfect.
can bring that back.
Thank you.
We're ready for the vote? All in favor? All opposed? 7-0. Consider a date for the purpose of calling a bond election.
Yes, currently we are meeting, we have a steering committee that is putting together some different, I guess, scenarios that we would like to bring forth to the board. I know that y'all haven't been previewed to a lot of the information, so what we would like to do is, along with the steering committee, is come and present to you on a night so y'all could hear all the options that were discussed, what the committee selected, and why, and what is the recommendation. And so, and at that time, if the board feels, they can call an election at that time. I'm recommending that if you'll allow us February 13th at 6:00 p.m. to have that meeting. So it would be a special meeting to discuss.
What day was that?
February
The
13th?
Monday, February 13th.
In the evening, like
Yes,
6 o'clock,
6
sort of
o'clock
thing?
p.m. Mhm.
I mean, it works for me.
It's okay with you?
Yep.
And that gives us enough time because it has to be done by the 17th.
Yes, yes.
We need a motion.
And if this is a special called meeting, it will include a public comment period as well?
Yes, we can put that in there. And we
Okay.
can also, since it's a special meeting, we can also televise it if,
Okay, as long as, I just wanted to ensure that, I know sometimes when we have special called meetings, it's kind of different, so I just wanted to make sure.
yes, I'll make sure we have public
forum
comments and.
Live stream, okay, thank you.
Ready for the motion?
I will move that the board approve the date of February 13th, 2017 to review findings and recommendations and call a bond election if necessary.
I'll second.
Arredondo seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
I move that we appoint trustee Ann Halsey as the San Marcos CISD representative to serve on the City of San Marcos's Commission on Children and Youth.
Second that motion.
I'll second the motion.
Ms. Halsey currently serve in that capacity?
I do. The terms are currently 1 year. I came onto the commission in May at the board's recommendation, but City Council reappoints all of the commissions in February. They're hoping to extend the terms to 2 years because now everybody's having to renew.
But you wish to
frequently.
serve a term?
I'm happy to serve. I think they're doing good work.
Me.
Ms.
You can put Villalpando. Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Approval of
Kathy?
approval of budget amendments.
Mr. Watson's item.
Okay.
What do you mean? What's Mr. Watson's?
Do you want to say something?
I was just gonna go ahead and move on this item.
Let's just finish this off.
Oh, well, we'll finish this item and come back to that one.
I'll take one.
I move that we approve the budget amendments.
Second.
I have one question.
That's fine.
Question?
Ms. Griffith, as to the $35,000 on the infamous parking lot at Mendez, is that additional funds, or are those
that
funds we
was-
allocated that you have to move over?
Yes, because they weren't spent in August, and I didn't account for them in August when I rolled them over.
Okay.
So that,
Same 300,000?
yes.
Okay, thanks.
Well, while we're on that subject of the parking lot at Mendez, I know, obviously, I've traveled back there, and I see that there's been some issues with the new parking lot. Was that just a freak accident that happened back there? Was it an oversight on design and engineering, or how did, what?
We had a break in the water line,
Mhm.
so they had to go in there and fix it. But it should be fixed by now. They were, S&P was supposed to have gone back there and redid the parking lot.
I mean,
last
was the
weekend.
parking lot, like, was it the weight of the cars that broke the water line, or what? I
No,
guess,
it's
caused the water line to
it's
break?
an old line,
Okay,
so.
it just happened after we
Yes.
put a new parking lot on top of it, okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed, 0, 7-0. Okay, we did this, and so.
We're going back to the
Do you want to bring
transportation.
Willie back in?
The transfer.
Yeah.
Mr. Watson, are you ready?
Bring you a fresh copy, but we ran two numbers just based on our conversation that we've had. And if we were doing bus drivers only, with the only change making is adding the $2 for our current bus drivers, as well as on top of that, provide that incentive, the $250 that we paid at the end of February and of May. Then the total cost would be $160,000.
Now, for the, I don't want to call it, is it going to be coded as like a stipend and not a bonus or an incentive as far as?
We'll do some creative
the way
things,
that-
but at the end of the day, it'll be an extra $2 for every employee added to their hourly rate.
No, I'm saying the retention incentive, that's not going to be.
Oh, the
considered a
250.
bonus though, right? Because then it has like some tax implications and things. like that.
Exactly. That's why we're calling it an incentive.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So,
And that, oh, excuse me.
And TRS issues as well.
Go ahead, John, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. So maybe it'll be cleared up by the handout. Let me hold my question. Go ahead, Ms. Costillo.
No, well, maybe it might be the same. The amount that you just quoted, Mr. Watson, is that from now until the end of this school year? It's just this semester, and then we start another, of course, another fiscal year in September the 1st. So this is just until that period of time.
correct. Just for the remainder of this year.
Well, I thought, okay, this is what I was concerned about. So I thought that we were doing the $2 additional per hour in place of the retention incentive, because the retention incentive was kind of a poor substitute for the $2. It fell a bit shy. I didn't want, I mean, at least individually, and y'all might have kind of had a different idea, so I only speak for myself, but if we're spending that $85,000 to make sure the current bus drivers get the raise, I think that's retention incentive enough, as far as throwing money at it, from where I sit. And that's, otherwise, this is getting more and more costly.
I certainly intended to have it raised $2 on the base rate and then the intention incentive on top of that, because I think that that's what we're offering new drivers, an intention, a raise, and then also they get the $500 bonus if they stay for 90 days.
We've had that for, that's not new, right?
No, the 500 I thought went to somebody else if they brought in somebody.
That is correct. It went to the person that
Right. We're giving this
that brought
500
the
to the
person
person who
in or
comes in.
referred the candidate.
Well, we previously didn't give $500 if they made it 90 days. That's new.
That's
We've
new.
never done that
We
before.
have never, not to my knowledge. Not to my
Okay.
knowledge.
Well, that's not what maybe we understood it differently, but I didn't mean to give both. I think most likely this increased raise for the current employees is about the only thing we'll probably hire. Hopefully we'll hire what you've projected, but more likely we're having a lot of trouble finding anybody.
Right.
But we know we'll pay dollars to those that are already here. If we made the salary a retention incentive, I was okay with it, or if it just became salary, but I did not intend to do both and won't support that, actually.
We have 76 bus drivers?
That's our
Currently?
last count. It changes. My last download.
Yeah, this is a lot of money, so.
I know I had a original motion, so I'm going to withdraw that one, and motion that we approve, let me get the wording here though for it, approve the transportation salary changes as proposed by the administration in the new attachment A.
I'll second.
For clarification, bus drivers only on this side of.
Yes.
Any discussion? Further questions?
As much as I would love to approve this, I think it's too much. I mean, I want the pay increase. I agree to that. And the perfect attendance, I don't see a problem with that either, but I would like for us to hold the retention just until we can look at all the salaries that we're looking at and figure out a better way to keep our bus drivers.
Ms. Costilla?
Ms. Hanson, and, you will make your decision, but I think that since this is just for this year, I think that maybe if they can put a plan for us together for when we get ready to budget for next year, maybe that might be a possibility to where we're looking at, maybe a better drawn-out plan. I support this for right now because, like I asked, it is through the end of this year. It's not continuously, but I think in the meantime, it would be good for them to bring us a somewhat more structured plan that we can be looking at and maybe considering. That's the way I feel as far as just voting on this tool that's going to be effective just through the end of this fiscal year.
Well, the salary is going to stay. We're not going to reduce their salary.
No,
right,
it's
in the
not,
next
but
fiscal
when
year.
she talks about, you were mentioning the retention plan, is that something that? That you just want, you just wanted the retention plan, but you didn't want the hourly wage?
No, I want
Vice
the
versa.
hourly wage increase.
Well, that's what I'm
Not
saying.
the retention incentive
This
on
one-
top of that.
This one has a retention, and what I'm saying is that if we can approve this and maybe have something more structured for the next year that will include maybe an incentive there of some sort, maybe not as high as this. I don't know.
Well,
I'm
still-
just looking at,
The $40,000 is going to be gone. I mean, this is effectively a $3 an hour raise for only one segment of our working population mid-year. And these are folks that agreed to take the wage that they're currently making. I understand there's some market pressures. We have to do something kind of out of the ordinary, but we can't get so carried away to spend money that we don't have. I mean, we hope that our revenues are revised upward, but we're still in a deficit budget. This does nothing to address food service workers, that might be making substantially less than this and don't see a $3 raise in the middle of the year, or nothing to
Custodians.
any other faculty member, the staff or anyone else, except this one small group. And I was willing to do the $2 because of competitive pressure, but I never heard, and if you meant it, Ms. Halsey, I certainly didn't understand it, that we even asked for the 2+. I think that was just how it came because we rushed you to get something to us, so I can't support
I
it.
understood it was, so I don't know.
Mr. Redondo?
I'm supportive of this proposal for a number of reasons, but without saying too much on the issue, I know our transportation staff has experienced a lot of things. And so for the employees who have some type of longevity, I think that retention bonus of why I understood it to be the $2 raise plus the $250 in February and March was something that I was supportive of because of their willingness to stay with our organization through their time with what they've been experiencing. So I'm in support of the recommendation.
Can we just, I call for the question, can we
Ask
just?
for the question. All in favor? 3, 4, 5. All opposed? 2.
Thank you.
We're now down to 9, action regarding proposed termination contract of classroom teacher and authorize superintendent to send notice to classroom teacher.
Madam President, I recommend to propose the termination of the term contract of James Maxwell for the reasons discussed in closed session and authorize me to send notice to Mr. Maxwell of his proposed termination.
I so move. Somebody?
Yeah,
wanna-
I'll second.
Do you second or
Any-
No, you need to
Motion.
second.
I don't-
Yeah. Remember, he indicated we needed to move. He would make,
Okay.
he would
Move
make
and
it and
second.
somebody would move and second.
All in favor? 7-0. Consideration and possible approval of San Marcos High School principal.
I so moved that we approve Dr. Bobby Turnbow as a principal at San Marcos High School.
Second.
Mr. McLaughlin seconds.
That's fine.
Any discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
Dr. Turnbow, can you come up to the dais, please? Don't mess it up.
I know, I'm the loud cheerleader type, but thank you so much. I'm very, very excited. I have missed being at a high school. It's what gives me the most joy. I will tell you, I've worked a lot of places, and walking into San Marcos High School, I've never felt so welcomed by the kids and the staff. It's absolutely amazing, and I promise you, you're going to see great things out of our staff and out of our students and out of our community, because we are going to work tirelessly to make sure that we accomplish the goals that you've set forward for us. I guarantee it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have to say it. Go Rattlers!
It's a good day to be a Rattler.
It's a trip.
Superintendent's formative evaluation instrument,
I moved that we approve the instrument as discussed in closed session.
Second.
all in favor? 7-0.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? Wait, who made the motion?
John McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, second?
I will second. We all do.
All in favor? 7-0.
Margie.
Have a good evening.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna give you, and if you have.